Have fun.
Thank you. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back to Bean in the Tree Books, and today is a very special video for you guys. Today is the very first video of a new series that I'm going to be calling Late Night Reviews, and essentially the point of this series is to review some of the latest books that I've been reading, but also so then we have a chance to get cozy, get in our PJs, grab your drink of choice, and just relax for the night. My drink of choice just happens to be iced tea, and today we are going to be reviewing Sunrise on the Reaping. So, as some of you might have seen in our last video when I met Lauren Roberts, I actually spent 7 hours driving up with Tyler, and I finished this entire book on the way up. As you might have seen in that video, this one made me emotional. Before we get started, I have a whole page of notes ready for you guys. To kick it off, I ended up rating Sunrise on the Reaping a 4.75 stars out of 5, and I will get to you guys on why I deducted a fraction of a point, but let's get started on the notes that I wrote down. I have a pros and cons list that I have here for you guys. Let's start on the cons, which I kind of already touched up on for the review, but the one and only con that I had for this book was that there were too many connections from the originals. It was kind of flawed in a way that in the first 50 pages or so, it feels like the only thing you're reading is like little ties and connections to the originals, which kind of like makes you feel like maybe it's not realistic to the story because it's so coincidental. But I will say in the long run, reading back on it, it makes a little bit more sense. If you think of Haymitch's character, he is about the age group of Katniss's parents. He probably knows some people who are related to Katniss's family or Peeta's family. It's not totally out of the ordinary to see familiar names and familiar connections and ties, being that it is so close to the timeline of the originals. But when you are first reading it, it's kind of like, maybe this isn't exactly what I was wanting, but you have to push through it because I promise you it's so worth it. Now, with the only con that I have out of the way, let's get to the pros. So the first pro is probably the most obvious of them all. We get Haymitch's backstory out of this almost 400-page book. Haymitch is a beloved character in the Hunger Games, not only by me, but by many other people around the world who have read and watched the series. But I loved the movies as a kid. And weirdly enough, I always had this like weird fascination with Haymitch. You could just tell that something about him was broken. And I have died for this story in particular, what he went through during his games, especially with him being a victor as well. And this was everything I was wanting in his story. And not only do I love that we got Haymitch's story, but it's also really convincing. As you're reading it, nothing feels out of place for his character, especially after knowing him in the originals. It truly feels like a prequel and not something that she just like randomly added later. My next pro is also about Haymitch's character. He's a likable protagonist, but he's also flawed. I think the biggest thing that I have issues with when reading books sometimes is sometimes the main character is a little bit too good to be true, or just too likable in that sense. And I felt like Haymitch's character was the perfect mixture of like likable, but also had his own issues and his own flaws. Next is our third pro that I have written down. This is kind of a shocker, but I would say one of the things that I loved most about this book is how unpredictable the predictable moments were. Reading this book, there was many times where I go, oh, this is about to happen, or oh, I think this is gonna happen, or you feel like you kind of already know how it's gonna end. And she shocks you a little bit. There were so many times that even though I thought a moment was predictable, something completely twisted or changed and I ended up not expecting what was about to happen. It makes you feel like you're smart. It makes you feel like you know what's going on, but then she kind of slaps you in the face and goes, that's not happening. It was really fun. It kept me on my toes constantly. I loved how unpredictable the predictable moments felt. The second to last thing that I have on my pros list is the way it pulls at your heartstrings. Suzanne Collins has totally succeeded in writing beautiful, well-loved characters. Let me tell you, when you fall in love with characters that you know probably won't stick around because they're in the games. It's heartbreaking when you know they're about to go. This book had me holding on to so many of the tributes, just hoping and praying that they all make it out alive. You really end up falling in love for some of these characters' quirks and their personalities, and it is really heart-wrenching when you end up reading about their deaths. That's where I applaud Suzanne Collins, because there's not a lot of books that can make people cry, and this one I think had a majority of us weeping by the end of it. And the last thing on my pros list would be the epilogue. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm not usually one to go nuts over an epilogue. I get so excited that I am about to finish a book that it's tempting to not read an epilogue for me. And I'm not gonna lie, I was not feeling that way for this book. I didn't want it to end, to be honest. I wanted it to keep going and keep going and keep going. So I was very excited to read the epilogue. Now, did it shatter my heart? Of course it did, because this book in general shattered my heart. I'm not gonna give it away, but it's almost like you get a sense of relief for his character, but it's still like you're bawling your eyes out at the end of it going, huh? Yeah, the epilogue was something else. I never thought I would find myself in tears over an epilogue like I did with this one. But let me know what you guys think of this book. I really, really enjoyed it. I had so much fun reading it, and I want to reread this a million times over again because I just adored it with everything in me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, this is part 1 of a multi-part series of late night reviews. I'm so excited to keep this going, and I hope to see you in the future with my next upcoming review. Bye, guys. Oh my God, that was crazy.